Thanks for joining us on Chicago Tonight. I'm Brandis Friedman. Here's what we're looking at.
Northwestern runs Northwestern.
Students and faculty are divided as Northwestern University strikes a deal with the Trump administration to get its research funding back.
Victory formation for Chicago. Not the same old Bears.
And these Bears are on a roll as they prepare to face the archenemy Green Bay Packers this weekend. First off tonight, the expected dismissal of a lawsuit targeting federal immigration agents' use of force in the Chicago area is delayed. The attorneys who originally filed the lawsuit on behalf of protesters and journalists had moved to dismiss it, claiming they had already won their case with Border Patrol and Immigration and Customs Enforcement agents when they left last month. But District Judge Sarah Ellis did not yet grant the motion to dismiss, saying she wants to give any members of the class action a chance to object by December 19th. Also at the hearing today, Department of Justice attorneys claimed once the case is dismissed, protesters and journalists should be restricted from filing similar lawsuits, even if immigration agents are accused of future constitutional violations. Ellis appeared to agree with the plaintiffs that dismissal of this case, even with prejudice, would not bar future lawsuits over potential future violations. Survivors of sexual abuse say Pope Leo hasn't done enough to protect victims of abuse at the hands of Catholic priests. And what's more, they're sharing new evidence, they say, of the Pope's role in a case out of Peru.
It is voluminous. It is church documents. It is recordings. It is emails, including by the Pope, that is exactly what he did. When he was bishop in Chiclayo in Peru, he was involved in one of the worst cases of assault and abuse that we've ever come across.
The Survivors Network of Those Abused by Priests, or SNAP, says direct emails from Pope Leo when he served as bishop of the Diocese of Chiclayo show he approved the retirement of a priest accused of abusing children. That retirement ended a Vatican investigation at the time. SNAP is calling for a new investigation into the Pope's actions as well as further reforms. If the L stop at State and Lake in the Loop is your regular pickup or drop-off point, you'll need to pick a new station starting early next year. The CTA says starting January 5th, it's closing the 130-year-old station to make way for a new one. A more modern, fully accessible station will have wider platforms and a continuous canopy to provide shade and coverage from the weather, plus a flyover bridge to allow for easier transfers between platforms. Loop trains will continue during construction. The new station is set to open in 2029. Up next, controversy over a deal between the Trump administration and Northwestern University. We hear from different sides of this issue right after this.
Chicago Tonight is made possible in part by the Alexandra and John Nichols family, the Polk Brothers Foundation, and the support of these donors.
Northwestern University is agreeing to pay $75 million to the federal government in a settlement. The deal with the Trump administration would bring back hundreds of millions in federal research grants frozen earlier this year and end investigations on discrimination. But students and faculty are divided on the deal, with opponents blasting it as government overreach, while supporters say it was a result of the university's failure to protect Jewish students. Northwestern leadership, meanwhile, insists the university will keep its autonomy.
It was the best and most certain method to restore our federal funding, both now and in the future. I'm deeply grateful for the Board of Trustees, which authorized the funding, frozen research grants over the past 7 months. But at a cost of roughly $40 million a month, this was simply not sustainable. As I said before, suing would have cost time and money that we believe the university could not risk.
Joining us are Laura Beth Nielsen, a sociologist at Northwestern University, Jonah Rubin, an organizer with Jewish Voice for Peace. And on Zoom, Lisa Fields-Lewis, National Chair of the Coalition Against Anti-Semitism at Northwestern, or CAN. Thanks to all three of you for joining us. Laura Beth, university leadership, they have said that this is the best available option to restore this funding. What's your reaction to that argument and to this settlement?
Well, it's important to remember the context in which this is happening, which is that the Trump administration withheld lawfully appropriated funds and threatened in the future to withhold funds. This is illegal, to advance their own policy preferences. There's a lot to talk about in this deal, and the constitutionality and legality about each individual provision is worth exploring, but the context in which this is happening is that the Trump administration is using its funding as a cudgel to force Northwestern to enact their policy preferences, some of which are unconstitutional and many of which are illegal.
And we'll get into some of that
Sure.
a little bit more in this conversation as well. But a lot of people have criticized the university for not holding out and taking this to court, as Harvard University has.
Right.
But the President Beenan has said that that would take years. We can't risk that.
Well, it didn't take years for Harvard to begin having their funding restored, and while all of us are concerned about anything on campus that creates divisions or makes people feel excluded, what we're looking at is the removal of science and the scientific method and review of research proposals through peer-reviewed scientific processes. So even the faculty who are relieved to have their funding restored and for whom this might look like a good deal are very concerned about the policy implications associated with political meddling in science.
Lisa Fields-Lewis, you and the coalition that you work with, you all support this deal. Tell us why.
We think it's a great first step in making sure that Jewish students are protected on Northwestern's campus. We have been working closely with students and faculties and aggrieved parties and kind of helping them have an audience in front of the government with stories of frightening Title VI violations. And all I can tell you is that this is happening to Northwestern, and it's not happening to dozens of other schools around the country. It's not happening to Amherst. It's not happening to Dartmouth. Northwestern's administration seems to be, by government findings, extremely in violation of U.S. law from 1964 of Title VI. And we're just thrilled that now Northwestern has to really make sure that Jewish students and all students feel safe on campus. And there are, I think, 100 different provisions of this deal. So obviously it was considered a serious violation. There are almost 60 paragraphs, and the $75 million fine is enormous. I think it's the second biggest after Columbia's $200 million. And I just would say there's a reason why Northwestern's in the crossfires of the government here, and they seem to have crossed a line, and we're really happy that the government took this first step.
You mentioned government findings, and yesterday at your organization's press conference, you all talked about some of the details and the information that people had been sharing with the government. Is there a government report, or what? How can the rest of us know what Northwestern is guilty of?
Well, after our ex-president Schill spoke at Congress last year, they published the findings. So if anybody wants to comb through that, you can see some of the accounts of what happened at school. Most of the student OCR complaints are confidential and made through us or in confidence in order to protect their privacy and make sure that they were not retaliated against. But I would encourage everybody to read the document of the entire testimony of Schill at Congress, and then behind closed doors. It's utterly shocking. There was an example of the provost offering to take a certain brand of dip, of hummus, out of the cafeterias as a nod to the BDS movement, hoping that that would be considered a give. So we got a really interesting inside scoop into what was going on in that negotiation, if you will. It should have never happened in the first place, but all of that is public knowledge now.
So, Jonah, this deal, it undoes the Deering Meadow agreement that the university struck to end the pro-Palestinian encampments that were on campus last year, calling for further restrictions on when and how students can protest near campus buildings. What concerns do you have there?
You know, this is an agreement that does nothing to protect the safety of Jews on campus. The Deering Meadow Agreement granted scholarships to Palestinian students fleeing from Gaza, fleeing from the genocide, in order to study at one of the prestige institutions in this country. Taking away their scholarships does not make Jews safe. Making a Palestinian professor, who the university brought as part of its Scholars at Risk program, to Northwestern, kicking him out does not make Jews safe. And taking away a space for Muslim and MENA students to pray and express their culture does not make Jews safe. Jews have always thrived in places that value minority rights and minority religious rights. And to see Northwestern sacrifice those rights in order to kneel down before Trump, in order to take the easy path out, as a Jew, as a person who values these types of minority rights, offends me.
Laura Beth, what does all this mean? You know, this deal, it releases the $790 million in research grants that had been on pause since April. The university has had to make concessions such as providing more information to the government about its hiring, admission, and academics. We've talked about the $75 million fine, second highest, second to Columbia University. What does all of this mean for the university and students?
Yeah, well, first I think it's important to say that the agreement explicitly states that Northwestern is not admitting that it
Correct.
that
to
it
clarify,
has, right, just to
misspoke
clarify
earlier.
that. But what it means is that we are beholden to the Trump administration's policy preferences on things that have nothing to do with Title VI and anti-Semitism on campus. The remedies under Title VI, if there are race violations, or under Title IX, if there are gender violations, the remedy for that is not the removal of all federal research funds. There's a process under those civil rights laws. I study them myself. This is not the process. So, but what it means is that Northwestern has given up the rights of our students that they enjoy. So First Amendment rights, we've given up academic freedom to research in really important areas. Hormone research, research on disparity, right? Because not all the grants are coming back. So only some grants are coming back, and grants about gender. So there's the transgender issue, which is really important to a lot of members of our community. Gender non-binary and trans students who need medical care, folks who want to do research in that area, the kind of hormonal research that is also being used for everything from cancer to acne. Hormonal research is really important. Those grants may not come back. Grants about racial disparities in medical and outcomes may not come back because they're considered DEI. So we've given up a lot of ground that has nothing to do with the question of anti-Semitism on our campus.
Lisa, what do you say to that?
Well, we're here specifically to talk, in our case, about anti-Semitism via the Coalition of Against Anti-Semitism at Northwestern, and that's the issue that we care the most about. The fact that we are in this position is largely because anti-Semitism went unchecked at Northwestern for so long that these fines were assessed against Northwestern. And the fact is that, like, when I listen to these allegations of genocide, and there are these broad allegations without any substantiation behind it. We wouldn't be here if actual students didn't come forward with claims of feeling unsafe and harassed by faculty and by other students in clubs and in classrooms, by their peers and by their faculty. So from our perspective, that's the key thing we wanted to solve against. And with regard to the demonstration policy, keep in mind, it feels a little like scare tactics, because students are still allowed to demonstrate, but there is time, place, and manner. And you cannot disrupt other students from trying to get across during Meadow. You can't disrupt other students from trying to take tests. We had complaints against students who couldn't concentrate because they were screaming outside of their classroom. As long as the protests stay in line with Northwestern rules, norms, and American law, we're fine with all of that. But it crossed the line. That's why we're here in this place.
Yeah, let's be clear. Public polling shows that the vast majority of American Jews do not support the Trump administration's authoritarian attacks on higher education. We believe that those attacks make anti-Semitism worse, not better. And there's a very good reason for that, right? It's because Trump administration is trying to use Jews as the face of its attacks on trans students, as the face of its attacks on international students who come to this country to try to live and study at our beautiful institutions, to try to make Jews the face of attacks on students of color. At Jewish Voice for Peace, we stand up and we say, no, you do not get to attack other vulnerable populations. Our freedom, our liberation is bound up intimately in the ability of other minorities, religious, ethnic, to thrive. And so we stand hand in hand with them and with the vast majority of American Jews in saying that these attacks on higher education should not be done in our name and do not make us safer.
Lisa, what do you say to that? Because we've heard that argument before, that the Trump administration is using anti-Semitism as an opportunity, and we've heard it from our guests here tonight, as an opportunity to seek to gain control over institutions of higher ed. What do you say to that?
Well, again, I go back to what I said at the beginning. First of all, again, I read these things and I hear these things. They feel like broad scare tactics without any substantiation behind it. From the beginning of the Trump campaign, there have been allegations of fascism and what's going to happen to our country, but there's not a whole lot of meat there to back it up. So I really think that, we have to look at that. And it's really, I'm really concerned about Northwestern here. And let's look at the fact that this is not against all universities around the country. This is a select few that really crossed the line into illegal anti-Semitic behavior. And that's why Northwestern is in the crosshairs. If this was flat out all universities around the country, we might have a different discussion. But Northwestern clearly crossed the line here and ignored the discrimination against and the harassment of Jewish students, and that has to be addressed.
All right, that's where we'll have to leave it. My thanks to all of the three of you for sharing your thoughts with us. Laura Beth Nielsen, Jonah Rubin, and Lisa Fields Lewis. Thanks. Best of luck to you.
Thank you so much.
And we dive into the Chicago Bears' success this season and preview this Sunday's matchup against the Green Bay Packers coming up. It might not be spring yet, but the Chicago Bears are coming out of an extended hibernation. Bears fans have long dreamed of days like these, seeing their team at not only the top of their division after 12 games, but also the top team in the NFC. But they're heading into their biggest game yet against their archenemy Green Bay Packers, who they will face Sunday at Lambeau Field. Joining us now with more on the big game is the Big Cat, James Williams, former offensive lineman for the Chicago Bears. Welcome back.
Thank you very much.
Okay, so ahead of the season, you joined us and we asked you how far you thought the team would go. You said 8 to 9 wins would be a good season. Fast forward to today, and they are at, says right here, says 9 wins, James. Yeah. Have they exceeded your expectations?
Most definitely. Most definitely. They have been able to get over hurdles that I did not think they were going to be able to get over this early in the season, or this early in Coach Johnson's career. Their ability to go in the bye week after 2 losses and be able to fine-tune some things and turn some things around was very impressive, and it gives a lot of confidence to the players as far as what the coaching staff is doing on a daily basis.
What do you make of Caleb Williams' progression this year?
It's been good. It's been good. He still has ways to go. There are things that that he has to work on. But when you have the ability to win these games and still be able to make corrections, then that's a good thing, because you're progressing. One of the reasons why I didn't think they would be over 9 wins is because of new coaching staff, his second staff in 2 years, actually his third or fourth coordinator in 2 years. So to see the progress that they have made is very impressive.
Do you think the offensive line, do you think they're doing a better job protecting Williams this year?
Yeah, I think it's everything tied in. Them being able to run the ball better. The talent that they have at the wide receiver position, tight end position, all those things are coming together, which is making this team as dominant as it is right now.
So they're going to be facing a big test this weekend with the Packers pass rusher Micah Parsons. What do they have to do to try and stop him?
Well, some of it's going to be on Coach Johnson. Some of it's going to be on the players. The majority of it's going to be on the players because Parsons is a guy that can line up all over the field. He'll line up on the right side, he'll line up on the left side, he'll line up in the middle, he'll line up off the ball. So you never really know where he's going to be. But they are going to try and do things as far as keeping tight ends in or tight ends chipping on their way out, backs chipping on their way out. They are going to be able to do some things, whether it be motion or things like that, to try and slow him down a little bit and give the offensive line a chance.
So their rushing game also improved. The team is second in the league, averaging 153 rush yards a game. What's been the key to getting that run game going?
Well, you bring three new guys as free agents, and you put them in the middle, and they're doing exactly what you wanted them to do. You know, you look at the combination blocks between like Tooney and Wright, and you know what Jackson's able to do in the middle. These guys are moving people off the ball. They know their assignments, they know what they have to do, and they're getting the job done. And I think Coach Johnson has done a good job of keeping things simple for them. You know, it might look different to the defense, but for the offensive line, for the backs, it's the same thing. So they're blocking a lot of the same plays in a row, but they're just making it look different.
Bears defense has also been leading the league in forcing turnovers. Is that sustainable?
Early in the season, I would have said no, but I would not have thought it was going to be sustainable for as long as it has been. So it is, I think it's something they preach. You know, you often heard people talk about Lovie Smith's defenses and how they practice, they preach, turn the ball over, force fumbles, interceptions, sacks, things like that. And I think you're looking at the same thing here. They're practicing it. They are going over it every day in practice, in film, and it's contagious. And you see a lot of guys doing a lot of different things.
Getting creative.
Yeah.
Rivalry may not have been, or it may not be what it used to be with the Packers winning 17 out of the last 20 matchups. Are the Bears finally back in a spot where they can compete?
This game they are.
Yeah.
This game they are. You know, it's still a long road. 17 out of 20, you still have a lot of ground to make up. But I think they're headed in the right direction. The things that they're doing offensively, defensively, special teams-wise, these are things that travel. So being able to watch them up at Lambeau Field this week will be a good, you know, we thought the Philadelphia game was going to be a good kind of gauge to see where they are. Green Bay game is going to be even more of a gauge.
You've played in those rivalry games. What's that like for players?
It's different. It's the team that's right up the street. It's your neighbors. The husband is with Chicago and the wife is with Green Bay, so you have split households.
A divided household.
Right. You know, you walk through the grocery store and now people want to talk to you about the Green Bay Bears game that's coming up. So it is a lot different, and it means a lot to the fans. So, you know, as players, you feed into that more and more the more you hear it. So with this game having as much on the line as it does, it's got to be a big week for those guys.
Coach Johnson seems to have done a good job at getting the city, getting the fans fired up. The Wiener Circle said that they would give away free hot dogs if he took off his shirt, which he did in celebration of the Eagles game or the Eagles win last week. He did that in the locker room. Talk about the impact that the team is having on Bears fans. Here's that shirt removal.
Yeah, I could have done without all that. Could have done without. I saved that for the Super Bowl, or you know, after you win the Super Bowl or something like that. But it gets the guys in the locker room fired up. You know, he is one of them. And as far as the fans go, the fans are looking for anything to grasp onto that says this coach is different than what we've had in the past, in the last couple years, and they love it.
Well, and what the Wiener Circle does kind of makes everyone feel like they're a part of this team,
yes.
Right?
Yeah.
So then what do you think the coach and the Wiener Circle will do if they win against the Eagles?
Well, I mean, he already took his shirt off. I mean, the next thing
Packers,
is the next thing is to go pantsless, right?
He's gonna take his
I really
pants
don't
off.
want to see that either.
Please keep your pants on.
Right. But I'm sure they will come up with some kind of, if the Bears rush for 300 yards or throw for a certain amount of yards or do something crazy, they'll figure something out.
All right, before we let you go, predictions for the season for this weekend.
Predictions for this weekend. This is going to be the first time out of the last 3 weeks that I'm going Bears. They have convinced me that, if they can keep it close, they really stand a chance, and I'm excited for them about that. And, yeah, playoffs.
Playoffs.
It's
happening. Super Bowl.
I'd like to see it. We have a long ways to go before we get to Super Bowl talk, though. But if they keep on performing like they are now and they are still cleaning things up as they move along, why not?
Why not? All right. Should be fun watching the game this weekend. I know you'll be watching it.
Oh, yeah.
James Big Cat Williams, cheering for the Bears. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
And we're back with more right after this. And that's our show for this Thursday night. Join us tomorrow night at 5:30 and 7 for the Week in Review. Now, for all of us here at Chicago Tonight, I'm Brandis Friedman. Thank you for watching. Stay healthy and safe, and have a good night.
Closed captioning is made possible by Robert A. Clifford and Clifford Law Offices, a Chicago personal injury and wrongful death firm that gives back to its community in Chicago and beyond.